And welcome to TalkFCB and welcome back here to the channel, guys. Of course, El Clasico build-up does continue, and in this video we are going to be assessing the two teams head-to-head, what is going to go down. It is time. Let's get tactical. The first thing that I absolutely have to tell you is regarding the Barcelona squad, which is as follows and does include Lionel Messi. He does make the squad for tomorrow, but unfortunately, Ousmane Dembele does not. He has been left out at the very last minute, despite training today and yesterday. The Clasico is said to have come just a bit too soon for him, but on Lionel Messi, I wouldn't get 100% certain yet that he's going to play tomorrow, simply because Ernesto Valverde in his press conference, he was really not giving anything away. He said, we're leaving it until the last minute, we're not taking any risks whatsoever. If Messi is not 100% right, he simply will not play. But the decision, it's known, is down to Messi himself. Only he can decide whether he plays tomorrow, and unless he feels right, I still would not risk him. And for that reason, in today's video, we are going to be looking, of course, what we can do with Messi, but most importantly, worst comes to worst, if he's on the bench, what we can do without. Because there is just a small part of me right now, guys, that just thinks, are we playing with Real Madrid right now? Are we sort of leaving our options open, including Messi in the squad? Maybe he'll appear on the bench, but maybe it'll be similar to when Messi was in the squad when we played Inter away. He was never ever going to play that game. We weren't going to risk him after that arm injury, and for that reason, Messi in the squad may not definitely mean Messi plays tomorrow, because like I say, please don't take any risks. And so for me, when you're looking at that Barca team right now, when you're looking at the decisions that Ernesto Valverde will have to make, I think 9 out of 11 of those players are all but certain to start this game. You've got Ter Stegen in goal, Alba, Longley, Piqué, Sergi Roberto somewhere, Sergio Busquets in midfield, alongside Ivan Rakitic, then Coutinho and Suarez leading that line there. And I think the two spots up for grabs are in centre midfield, either Arthur Melo or Arturo Vidal. If it was up to me, Arthur would be in there without a shadow of doubt. He's got to start a game like this 110%. He would have my vote, but with Valverde, you never really know if it's going to be Arthur or Arturo Vidal. And then on the right hand side, if it's not Messi, who is going to play there? And I think certainly looking at if we didn't have Messi, there are certain options that Valverde may look to go with. And for me, this is the one here that I think we're most likely to see. And that's why I said Sergio Roberto will be in the team somewhere, because I personally believe that if Messi doesn't play in this game, we are going to see Sergio Roberto in a wider role and in midfield. We have seen it in the past, particularly against Real Madrid, and it has worked very effectively against Real Madrid. That's the key here. Roberto in midfield, a lot of the time, hasn't really worked out, but against Real, he just seems to cause a problem. And I think on that right-hand side, if we don't have Messi, bring Roberto in, Semedo behind him. I think Semedo at right-back is what we need to be seeing with Arthur, Rakitic and Sergio Busquets in midfield, with Felipe Coutinho and Suarez there, leading the line. If Ernesto Valverde was really going to take us by surprise, you may even see the inclusion of Malcolm in that forward line alongside Suarez and Coutinho. He would be the natural option on that right-hand side, a winger, somebody who's attack-minded, and Roberto there at right-back. But I think certainly it's more likely that he's going to play safe, go with what we know, put Roberto in midfield there with Semedo just behind him. And likewise, when you look at the Real Madrid team, what we're going to be up against tomorrow, it is certainly in the balance as well. I would say 8 of those players, according to Marca, 8 of those are guaranteed starters. Keylor Navas is the cup keeper over Thibaut Courtois. Ramos and Varane at centre-back, with Carvajal there at right-back. In midfield, Kroos and Modric, with Benzema and Lucas Vasquez, a very interesting choice there in the front line. At left-back, it's between Reguilón or Marcelo. Reguilón has been playing regularly under Solari and has really impressed. In midfield, according to Marca, it's between Casemiro and Llorente, but I think Casemiro is going to get the nod there. And the final slot up front is going to go to either Bale or Vinicius Jr., who certainly has been pushing for a start here. And right now, on current form, I think looking at Solari's options, you would have to say this would be his team. I think he's going to go with Reguilón over Marcelo at left back. I think Casemiro in midfield, and I think Vinicius ahead of Bale in that front line, which would be a really big decision. But that's the big question here for Solari. Can he keep his nerve, or will he revert back to type? And what I mean by that is he going to throw Marcelo back in simply because that experience simply because of his name? Is he going to play Bale over Vinicius, even though Vinicius has been in really good form? That's the big question here. And I think if Solari puts Marcelo back in, puts Bale in there in that front line, a player that doesn't really work in Clásicos, that's the question. Is Solari going to make those big calls? If he doesn't, if he falls back on that old guard that haven't really been performing at the start of the season, then I think certainly the advantage lies with us. We'll really like to see that happen. But if he sticks with what he knows, if he sticks with the form players, it could be a very finely poised game. And this for me is when it gets really interesting. When you look at the two teams going head to head, face to face, how they're going to react to each other, how are they going to play off each other. And I want to highlight this man here, Lucas Vasquez, who's really believed to be involved. He's going to be in that front line for Real Madrid. And the general consensus amongst Real Madrid fans is, yes, Bale would give more going forward, Vinicius would give going forward, the same for Asensio. But Lucas Vasquez is not in the team here to be attack-minded. He is in the team to stop Jordi Alba. It is as simple as that. So straight away, what Santi Solari is doing there is he's conceding that kind of advantage, that kind of momentum to Barcelona. He's saying, look, we're going to adapt our game to stop you. And that's always a good sign. As a Barcelona fan, you want Real Madrid to sort of revert away from their attacking style, because once they start to be defensive, they're not that good defensively. So when they start doing this, when they're dropping in here, when they're playing a defensive game, that's absolutely fine. We have the tools to open up Real Madrid, and I think Vasquez here, he probably will stop Alba. He probably will track back, and he'll probably really double up there with Carvajal, and he'll stop Alba, and that could be a real problem for us. But what it also will do will give us absolutely nothing down here. Quite often, teams can really expose us getting in behind Jordi Alba. They can really try and expose that space left behind. But if Vasquez is there, I don't really see that happening. Going forward, he's not that strong. But defensively, you can certainly see why Solari has included him. And at the end of the day, guys, it all comes down to personnel. Who Solari picks, if whether Messi's fit, that's all very important. But either way, whether it's Messi or whether it's somebody else there, Sergio Roberto, I think Semedo has to play as a right back. The reason for that is, up against Vinicius, both ways, I think Semedo there has the upper hand. You need that kind of pace to deal with Vinicius. He can get in behind you. You've seen that in recent weeks. He's looking really confident. You need Semedo there to combat that. I believe, man to man there, Semedo against Vinicius, he has got that battle in his pocket. But not only that, going the other way, you need to put serious pressure on this right-hand side. Because I tell you now, if Vasquez over here is stopping the runs of Alba, if we can't go down the left, you go down the right. You change the point of attack, you play Semedo, and you really try and get in down that right-hand side. And that's why I think Sergio Roberto could well play on that side. Because if Lionel Messi is not in that position, you've got two players here in Semedo and Sergio Roberto who are quite capable of really keeping their width, stretching the pitch, and basically trying to make these two players who are very inexperienced in Clásico matches, you've got to make them work. You've got to put as much pressure on them as possible. Reguilón here, Roberto, keep him out wide, stick him wide, make him come onto you. Then you've got Semedo on the overlap. Is Vinicius going to be willing to work back 70, 80 minutes? That can get tiring, up and down in a game of this intensity. Has he ever played in a game like this before? 90,000 fans at the Camp Nou, all against you. You are going to be up against it, and you've got to make him work. Semedo here and Roberto linking up, forcing him back, and if he doesn't track back once, bang, we're in on the overlap. Ramos could be dragged out, and suddenly then you've got Suarez who's going to play his game. If we can't go down the left, that's why Vasquez is there. Go to the other side, play Semedo, play Roberto if Messi isn't available, really exploit that inexperience that Real have on their left-hand side. But at the end of the day, guys, it's goals that win games. It's as simple as that. At the end of this game, whoever scores the most goals, they are going to come out victorious. And for that reason, I want to focus here on both number 9s. We're going to start here with Karim Benzema. And we mentioned in the preview video, he is on fine form. 6 goals in his last 4 games. He's going to be ready for this. And he's really latching onto things in the area and looking really confident in front of goal. I spoke in the preview about getting nice and tight to him. And that's what you've got to do. But the one area that I'm really worried about is this little gap here in between the defence and our midfield. Because if we're pushing up, if we're dominating, and suddenly we lose the ball, and Benzema, what he'll do is he'll just drift away. He'll just drift away from Piqué and Longley, and he'll start operating in this space here. And it's when that he drops off, you've got to get tight to him. Busquets has to be massively aware of what's going on behind him in this game. You've got to get that cover back, because if Benzema drops in here and he's got time and he's got space, there will be runners. Vasquez is working very hard up and down here to make those runs in behind Alba. The same for Vinicius. You know that he's got the pace, and if Benzema can just put the balls in behind there to Vinicius or Vasquez, we could be in trouble. It's a give and go. He'll play a 1-2, and suddenly he's moving into the area to get onto the return. Benzema, given the time, given that kind of space, you've got to get closer, you've got to close him down, you've got to be tighter, because he has the tools, if you give him that time, to really hurt you. And obviously, like I keep saying, Messi tomorrow may not be available. Messi might not take that risk, he might not play. And if that has happened, we need to give Suarez a lot more support. You saw it in the first Clasico of the season. He can do very, very well in these kind of games. This is where he comes alive, and I wouldn't want any other centre-forward in the world lining up for me in a Clasico but Suarez. He will come to life. He will hurt Ramos. He will hurt Varane. He can take care of those on his own. What he has to do, though, he has to have help from midfield. And by that, I mean Coutinho, I mean Rakitic. Those are the two players that I would rely on, and of course Roberto, who plays on the right hand side here, to make those runs in behind. You've got to have movement, because Suarez here is going to be occupied by two centre backs. What he doesn't need is Casemiro getting on his case as well. You need Rakitic there taking a risk, breaking from midfield, just like we saw in the second leg against Sevilla. Rakitic there was doing what he does best. When he's in that kind of mood, when he's giving us that kind of energy, breaking from midfield, making those runs, because what you're trying to do is just take this midfield away from Luis Suarez, because if he's taking on those two centre backs, I think you can do that. I think you can take Ramos, I think you can take Varane, but when you start putting Casemiro there as well, you're in a real trouble. You've got to get Rakitic taking that risk, and Coutinho in this game for me is going to play a massive role, simply because he can't just stay wide and expect the ball to find him. He's got to come in field if there's no Messi, and he has to be the orchestrator. He's got to be the leader. He's got to demand the ball, and most importantly, he has to stay close enough to Luis Suarez. He cannot afford to be too far away. He cannot afford to drop off too much. He's just got to be close enough so they can link up, so they can rotate, so there can be balls in here, 1-2s, and he can make the runs off. If you're too far away, suddenly all that breaks down. Suarez cannot be isolated. Get near him with runners, players taking risks, and really try and put as much pressure as you possibly can on that Real Madrid defence. And so that is basically where I see this game being won and lost, guys. In the wing areas, if Vasquez is going to stop Alba, that is a massive, massive part of our attack. Down that left-hand side, Alba getting in behind. If that is going to be stopped, we do need to do something else. We need to change our approach, and we need to use that right-hand side here with Roberto and with Semedo, really to exploit that inexperience there of Real Madrid if those two players start. And of course, the number 9s are going to decide this game. Benzema in fantastic form, but I'm going to back Suarez here. I believe that he has what it takes to bring the Clasico home once again. If Messi isn't there, Suarez, he will step up. So as always, guys, please let me know your full thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know how you think we should approach this game, both with Lionel Messi and, of course, without him. And tomorrow, I will be seeing you once again for the big game itself. Thank you for all of your comments. Thank you for getting involved. You have been a fantastic audience. I'll see you tomorrow, guys. But until then, as always, Vasquez, El Barça.